So the thing that wasn't allowed to happen just happened last night. Andreas Gustafsson got put away after only 54 seconds into the first round. And I can't even express how sad I am. My whole weekend is ruined. I was all in on Andreas, all in on the Marauder code. And seeing him get finished that early and like that, it just hurts, man. It's a sad day for Swedish MMA fans and for Marauder enthusiasts. And I was very wrong in my prediction. I thought the striking wasn't gonna be too much of an issue because of Andreas Gustafsson's sheer toughness. And I thought he was strong enough to cancel out the grappling of Renat, and that he would eventually gas out Renat with his insane pace. And that obviously isn't what happened. And when I first saw the finish, I didn't even know what happened. I was like, this isn't Andreas fighting. Because as soon as the fight started, he went forward as usual. And he was actually tagging Renat a couple of times. But Renat landed left straight, and it didn't even seem to have landed that hard. But as I watched it back in slow motion, I looked at Andreas' legs, and you could see it did kind of hurt him a little bit. Obviously, based on his reaction, it did have some kind of effect. Because he immediately became very passive. And Renat saw that and landed another left hand, and again it didn't seem to land that hard, but Andreas immediately started shelling up and retreating, and Renat followed, landed an elbow, and again it didn't land that clean, and he threw a head kick after that didn't land that clean either, but it didn't matter because at that point Andreas was completely shelled up against the fence, and I was very surprised watching it live, because I know Andreas can take a punch because he usually just walks through them like nothing, and many others seem to agree with me. However, because of that, I see a lot of people saying he just wilted and gave up, and I don't think that was the case at all. I actually refuse to believe that was the case, and I think that straight left that Renat landed, although it didn't look that devastating, it obviously did hurt him, because if you watch Andreas' other fights, he clearly isn't the kind of fighter to wilt and give up like someone like Leon Edwards would do, for example. Now, where do we go from here? First of all, I think that striking defense does need some work, and he would sadly have to sacrifice some of his Marauder levels in exchange for that, but as for his next opponent, it should obviously be someone who's a little bit lower level. I think Nicholas Dalby would be good. It's a classic Sweden versus Denmark matchup, a Viking versus Viking, Marauder versus Crafty Vet. The beef goes back to the Middle Ages, okay? And I think it's overall a fight which is very winnable for Andreas. But listen guys, this is not the end for Andreas Gustafsson. He still has that X factor, he still is the best Marauder in the UFC, and he's still a super exciting fighter to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing him inside the octagon again. Now, as for the card as a whole, I thought it was very good. There were a lot of finishes. The Mason Jones fight was sick. Benoit Saint Denis is back, and Flukas was right all along. The Fighting Nerds caught 2 L's, and one of the GOATs, Paul Craig, retired, which means no more body kicks of doom. So there were a lot of important things that happened on this card. But I think that's it for today, guys. Check out my last video where I talked about Andreas Gustafsson and why he's the greatest Marauder in the UFC. But anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to join the Andreas Gustafsson fan club. Am I just coping, or do you agree with me? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also don't forget to share this to every Marauder enthusiast you know, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.